107.6 Dawn FM.
Assalamu alaikum listeners, and welcome back after that commercial break. We get started with the Tech Clinic. I've got Ghufran and Shah. Let's first bring him into the program. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Yasar. How you doing?
Your voice sounds so much better than mine on radio.
No,
So powerful.
flattery will get you everywhere, Yasar.
Well, it certainly has today. Jazakallah khair for joining us and coming to my invitation to bringing you into the studio and part of this tech clinic. Can you first of all explain to the listeners what's the purpose of this tech clinic?
Purpose of Tech Clinic is for me to actually share some of my weak knowledge to the listeners out there. My background is technology. I've been schooled in all geek stuff, and so have you. And really, it's, I wanted to get back onto the radio for many years now, and your wonderful invite was just a blessing in disguise.
Oh,
it's really helping people out there, sharing our knowledge. We don't have all the answers, but we'll do our best to answer them either in the show or later on the Facebook group, inshallah.
Inshallah. So yeah, that is really the idea. So can you just, I just want to, cut into Mr. Ghufran Shah's history in itself. I mean, you said
is it part
background.
of the show?
Yeah, it is now. It is now, unfortunately, and it wasn't planned, was it?
Okay.
So we're gonna go for it. So yeah, just tell us where you work and where you've actually come from in terms of studying and.
Well, I was born and bred in Nottingham. I did a computer science degree at university. Spent 1 year as part of that working for GC Marconi in Chelmsford. I've always been technical, always been into computer science and IT, and I started as a programmer many years ago, getting really technical. Then spent about 7 years in London, a few years in the States, and been doing a lot of travelling. So people who know me, they know I'm always going to a different country pretty much every other week. Travelling is very difficult, especially time away from the family. But I'm really technical, so my background is doing networking, programming, system management. I spent hours talking about what I do. It's very hard to give me a title, but I'm a techie by trade. I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to sell you anything. But I have to wear many hats, marketing, business development, and also I do a lot of teaching as well. But
plenty of teaching all around the world.
I like helping people, that's the thing.
This is ideal then, isn't it?
Yes.
So, let's get started. We've had quite a few questions today, alhamdulillah, and quite a few people have joined in. It'd be great if we can get more people on board in the future as well. If you just want to provide us with the email address that we've got for the show.
There's tech at radiodawn.com.
Yeah, you can post all your questions that you have, anything related to tech. If you want to find out what a definition, what it stands for of something, or if you want to know how certain thing works, or if you've got a problem, you can always post us on our Facebook page that we'll have soon up. Also, we'll have a Twitter account as well for this program, and we're setting up other channels soon as well. You can text us in on our own numbers, and which I provided you before. We'll provide you again later on in the show, inshallah. But let's get started with the questions, because time is fading away from us.
Yeah, just before we start, yesterday, on that point, it could be homework for children. It could be if somebody's working in the IT field and they need some professional tips and tricks. There's no age limit here, so it could be work related. It could be you want to buy a technical gadget, and we can just share some of our advice with you.
Definitely, and
with all the disclaimers, of course.
Obviously,
there is small print in this show, which Yasar will tell you.
We will try. We will try not to be one-sided as it is. So let's get started. First question we had was, what is Apple TV?
Okay, an Apple TV is a small device produced by Apple. It's a device which allows you to stream your media content directly to your TV. So there's a small black box, fits into the palm of your hand, has one HDMI port, it has a network port, or it can talk to your wireless router as well. So when you turn the device on, it plugs into your TV, and you can watch your videos, your movies, your photos. Those of you who've got iPhones can make use of this AirPlay feature, so you could be taking a photo on your iPhone or your iPad, and within one click you can see that photo on your TV via this Apple AirPlay. Also allows you to stream from your iTunes library and also Netflix and anything that's available on the iTunes. So it's a small streaming device, no hard drive. £99 from the Apple shop. I'm not selling it, but it's, if you want to look at a way of streaming content to your TV, then this is something that's worthwhile looking at.
So you'll need an internet connection and an iTunes account, I'm guessing?
Internet connection and iTunes account, yes.
And that's pretty much it, and you're on.
And a TV with a HDMI port, and most TVs have that now as well.
Excellent. So, next question, moving on. Hopefully that's answered the first question that we had there, but if anyone wants a more detailed answer on that, then they can always email us in again, and then we'll give you a more detailed answer on that, inshallah, if that wasn't detailed enough, which is tech@radiodawn.com. So, next question is how to transfer from Apple to Samsung. I'm guessing that's referring to a mobile phone.
I assume so, yeah. So if that question was how to transfer from Samsung to Apple, Samsung produced something called Easy Phone Sync to go from Apple to Samsung, but the question's vice versa.
Okay.
The simplest way is going to be make a backup of all your contacts, all your media from your phone, just in case things go wrong. What you'll need to do is with your iPhone, you must have an iTunes account, and you'll be importing all your media, which is your video, music, photos, into your iTunes account, and also your contacts will be registered with either Outlook or the address book within iTunes. Your iPhone has to sync with iTunes, so whichever mechanism you use, there are tools out there which will allow you to back up your stuff from your Samsung onto your PC and then import that into iTunes. So iTunes is the hub of all that data migration.
So you use iTunes as the main point. Okay, excellent. So next question is, what is better, a memory stick or a hard drive if one needs to record or store videos?
Okay, so the question mentioned HDD, so assuming they're talking about a hard disk drive. Well, it really depends what your requirements are. If you want to keep some storage with you in your pocket all the time or on your keyring, then you can get USB sticks, which vary from 2 gig to 4 gig to 64 gigabytes. On that you can store quite a bit of content, photos, MP3s, etc. Some size of video files as well. Generally, the USB sticks will be have a smaller capacity. You can get up to 64 gig and 128 gigabytes as well. A hard disk drive, on the other hand, is a much more sturdy device. It will be a lot bigger. They can be portable, but many hard disk drives come with an external power supply as well.
Yep.
And here you can have larger capacity, so you can go into 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, even 3 terabyte hard disk drive. So that's a lot of storage for a lot of data.
So in terms of capacity, the better option is the external hard drive.
Yeah, I think for sturdiness as well, if you're a photographer and you're taking high-res pictures, one picture could be 20-30 megabytes, so even bigger for raw data. The recommendation really is to get a high-speed external hard disk. It's worth having a hard disk and a USB stick for backup purposes, so USB sticks are a lot more mobile as well. So all depends on the requirements. You can't say one's better than the other. They both serve different purposes.
Excellent. The next question is, what are the differences between them? I guess you've really been through
many size and
much of
speed.
this,
There's also something called solid state drive, which has no moving parts. You can take a solid state drive and you can drop it, and things won't go wrong. With a normal conventional hard disk drive, if you drop that, it's gone basically. Solid state drives are a lot more expensive. Prices are going down, but their capacities are smaller, but they're more reliable. So if you're looking for something more reliable, then get a solid state or a external HDD.
What's so special about a solid state drive in comparison to a normal hard
They're
drive?
more expensive, but they're faster. They're a lot faster. So if you're doing lots of graphic processing, the actual boot times of a machine that's got a solid state drive, it'll be a lot faster than a normal conventional drive. So if you have a PC with an SSD drive, you could boot up into your OS within literally 5-10 seconds.
In comparison, obviously the older ID and SATA had they had a spinning disk in them, and so the solid state doesn't have that. So that's why.
No moving parts.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes it much faster.
Exactly.
Super. How much for a 1 terabyte hard drive? That's
okay, yeah. So price is always changing. The best way to answer that is go to Google, do a search for 1 TB drive, and done a quick search here from Amazon, $59.99. They start from. Depending on the manufacturer, they go up to £80-90.
Again, we're not saying that Amazon is the only place that you can buy it from. There's plenty of others. But
absolutely, there's lots of places you can buy online. I tend to stay away from retail stores. If you want to have a look at what the actual device looks like, pop into your local store, touch it and feel it. You can always find a better price online. That's just my experience.
But sometimes there are good prices in stores as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really about just shopping around, isn't it? So
shop around. Yeah,
exactly.
Don't buy the first thing you see.
The next question really goes in hand, and obviously you've answered it. Where from? So that pretty much covers it. What is USB 2 and 3?
USB, Universal Serial Bus, been around since the 1990s. It's a standard format that was produced by people like the Intel, Compaq, Microsoft.
Okay.
A standard way of connecting devices. So device could be a printer, could be a hard disk, it could be a camera that can plug into your computer without turning the computer off. So that was a big thing that happened in the 90s. We started off with USB 1.1, then we had version 2, which was quite fast. Version 3 is a lot faster. So just to give you an example, you could take a 30 gigabyte movie, which is a size of a HD Blu-ray. With USB 3, you could transfer that in about under 1 minute.
Wow.
With USB 2, you're looking at about 15 minutes or more. Okay, so USB is a lot faster. Most of the new drives now are USB 3 compatible, and USB 3 can work with USB 2 as well. So you'll find a lot of the new computers you get are USB 3 compatible.
Excellent. The next question we've got is what is the cheapest legal way to get Microsoft Office? And they're asking this for their children to use for homework.
Okay, the only, and I stress the only legal way to get Microsoft Office is to buy it. Okay, to buy it from a reputable store, either online or from your retail store. If you're a student, however, or if you work in a university, you can get discounts, and in some cases it's free for students working in certain universities.
Yep.
There's a really good website that I've seen in the past, Software for Students. That's software number 4 students.co.uk, where the prices are really competitive, between £30 to £80 for Microsoft Office. So the only way to get legal software is to buy it. Okay? We're not condoning you to download software that's not legal.
And for next, actually, question goes hand in hand again. Message for those who use illegal copies.
Okay, this is another show. So it's whole kind of the whole issue about piracy. It spans and not only software, the music industry, video, whatever you're watching. At some point, you've got to realise the amount of effort that was spent in producing that particular piece of software or video, whatever. A lot of money was spent. You got to pay people salaries. There was a whole machine behind that, and by you not paying for software, you're in fact affecting their bottom line. Okay, exactly. So you'll see there's lots of websites out there where you can download things, but a lot of them are being closed down. Okay, so the only legal way is to buy it. Okay,
and the best way.
And if you don't buy it, you're going to lose it.
Exactly. We're not contributing, and then obviously the software companies will have to stop making it because they're not making money out of it. They can't really source anything out of it either. So obviously if they're not supporting themselves, then they can't support us. Next question is, do you think Nottingham schools should move to open source productivity software like Star Office? And if so, who should people challenge in the education department to make this happen?
Fantastic. I've just realised I can actually slow down now because we've got plenty of time. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
So, open source is a subject close to my heart. I've always been schooled and groomed in the non-Microsoft camp. So those of you who know anything about Unix or StarX, Linux is open source enterprise software, main competition to Microsoft. There's a whole community out there, the FSF, the Free Software Foundation. It's all about the experts in their fields coming together and producing software that's free. That's what the heart of open source. Open source, it's open source in that sense. It's free software. Some open source is free, but you, if you want support for it, you might have to pay for a support contract, which is perfectly fine if you're using open source in a commercial environment. So there are alternatives to Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office, the prices have gone down, but it's still quite expensive. For a family to buy some software for £100, £200, that's a lot of money just to do homework. So the alternative is to use something called OpenOffice or StarOffice, which is free. You can download it from openoffice.org, or just do a Google on StarOffice. You'll get lots of sites where you can download that, and that's free software. You can download that, and the beauty of that is you get a fully functional Office environment where you can do your word processing, you can use Excel, you can do project management, and you can save your files as Microsoft files. Okay. And for learning environment at home, for schools as well, how many schools can afford this type of software? So for a company to use software, you have to buy what's called an enterprise license, which is not cheap. It could be at least a few £1,000s for the school to use that particular software for students. The alternative is
each copy is licensed on each machine.
Has to be licensed. So you either buy an enterprise license or you buy a per user license. The fact that you've got this open solution out there, they should be encouraged more. People to speak to are headmasters and the IT champions in the school. So if a school has an IT department, if it has an IT administrator, and speak to them, ask them what they're using for their office environment, and how much are they spending. So
exactly.
the actual squeeze is there for all companies and schools. People don't have that much money now, even enterprises. So if you can slash somebody's cost base by giving them free software, I'm sure they're going to lead a lending air. So people to speak to, IT person, speak to the accountant as well, or the CFO, the finance officer in the school, who's responsible for paying for software.
Saying that, I mean, in Microsoft's defense, in one way, there are rumors that the next piece of Office software suite they're bringing along is going to be half the price of what the current one is. So they are pretty much dropping the price now because people can't really afford it.
Absolutely.
And obviously they are, like we spoke about, illegal ways that people are turning to, unfortunately, because they can't afford to pay for the software. So prices are dropping down. And also they're giving it away free copies as well with Windows 8 starter editions and stuff like they did with Windows 7. So obviously they are seeing the challenge that they are facing in the market against these free pieces of productivity softwares which are available, like Star Office and Open Office, and there's plenty of others as well. These days obviously apps are becoming a big thing, and with apps you can do much more for free.
That's the thing. And I've just remembered also, if you go out and buy a new computer nowadays, a laptop or a PC, then you'll get probably what's called an OEM version of Microsoft. So that's probably a cheaper way of getting the software. If you can find a good deal on a piece of hardware, you'll get a fully functional version of the Office suite. Yeah. OEM.
Exactly. So moving on to the next question. How much RAM is enough for a new laptop?
I think you really need, for most laptops that are running Windows or even Macs, you really need a minimum at 4 gigabytes for the laptop to run it efficiently.
I agree.
You can see some really cheap deals, and they'll look cheap because the actual supplier is giving you 1 gigabytes of RAM and 2 gigabytes of RAM. Your laptop might turn on, you might boot in the operating system, but the moment you start to do something, open Word or open Photoshop or start surfing, it will grind to a halt. So 4 GB should be the minimum. And memory's quite cheap nowadays.
I guess just to pick up on an example on that is when Vista came out, a lot of the machines came with 1 gigabyte, and Vista needed 1 gig just to run.
That was a fraud.
Vista just needed 1 gig of RAM just to run.
Sure.
It was quite funny at the time, but obviously quite sad that people had to suffer that. But obviously, so 4 gig, you're saying, is...
Yeah, sure. And there's no excuse now to have less than that, because RAM is cheap. Disk storage space is cheap nowadays. So if you are looking at to buy some new hardware, the key components are the RAM and the storage.
Processor?
Processor,
Cores?
Dual core, I'd say go for dual core. I mean, it all depends on your requirements.
Entry level, really?
Yeah, so if all you're going to be doing is surfing and browsing, then you can get an entry level laptop with a 4 GB RAM and single CPU. But most laptops now will have maybe dual core. There'll be
quad cores, and obviously this goes on and on and on.
Yeah, sure.
So i5s then.
Yeah, so for example, my good brother, brother Sajid, the Imitation Magazine designer, he's got a very powerful i7 quad core machine, 16 gigabytes of RAM. He needs that for doing the design work for the magazine. So it depends on your requirements as well.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
All right, so moving on towards next question. Can you explain to the listeners what Moore's law is and how it drives the PC's performance and increase over the last 2 decades?
I wonder where this question came from. We can get into a philosophical discussion. So Moore's law, back in the day, Moore's law was a computing term which came around before my time in the 70s. That was before my time. And what they said was they estimated that every 2 years the processing power of the computers is going to double. So if you look at from the 1970s to where we are now, processing speed has gone from to about 740k right to over 8 megahertz. So between 1970s and now, there's been a substantial increase. But since about the late 2000s, speed hasn't really doubled because the amount of the pace of change has really slowed down in terms of what Intel can do.
Okay.
But things are really changing in that space, because you look at transistors. At the end of the day, all these computers and gadgets, they're just ones and zeros. That's all it is.
Right.
Okay. So if you look at the actual transistor, that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay. When that becomes they're talking, it's going to be they're saying it's going to be like an atomic particle.
Okay.
When a transistor gets that size, then it can't really go any faster.
Right.
So whether it's going to increase, it's going to increase more than double within 2 years. We're seeing a pace of change every 6 months. You get a faster iPhone, you get a faster PC. So Moore's law, I think Moore's law still stands, but the rate of change is it's still
It's
pretty
slow.
rapid.
It's
a lot
slow,
more.
but it's moving still.
Yeah, sure.
But it's soon coming to its peak. Is that's what you're saying?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll move on towards our final question of the day, and then we'll be calling it quits. What is NFC?
Okay, near field communications. Again, interesting question. It's not like a scientific type of question. It's a standard that was produced to allow devices, particularly smartphones, to be able to communicate to each other when they're in close proximity.
Right.
So I could put my phone near your phone within 1 centimeter, and I could transfer files. If you look at Bluetooth, for example, that's an example of an advanced way of NFC, where we're transmitting content wirelessly. Okay, so it's a standard, and really, you've got we're seeing now you can get a sticker from Barclaycard. You stick it on your phone, and you can use that to just wave your phone in front of a till, and you'll pay for up to £10.
Well, what they're saying is that in about a year's time, most places will start using NFC, and you can make payments up to £20.
Yeah,
on
sure.
most items just through your phone, swiping your phone.
It's happening now.
Yeah.
Whether you want to do that, it's another thing. But NFC again, it's a rate of change technology really. So it's an interesting standard being built on all the time. Wi-Fi, for example, back in the day when we didn't have Wi-Fi, we were kind of sticking cables everywhere, and this whole kind of wireless phenomenon was introduced, and now everything's wireless now.
Everything's wireless.
And look at the Apple TV, for example, that first question. A lot of that is wireless, so you can stream from your laptop a movie wirelessly to your TV.
Basically without any cables.
And that's HD content, 1080p HD wirelessly.
High quality content.
Fantastic. And of course you can stream your Islamic content, your MP3s, your Quran, your Nasheed wirelessly, so it's beautiful.
No need of cables, no need for coming to set it up anyone that needs
That's
people,
the thing. That's the
especially
thing.
to do it.
Sure.
Not anymore. And that's pretty much it for today. Inshallah, we'll be back next week from 8:30 till 9. Obviously, as part of the program, Sunday Magazine Show, Tech Clinic, yes, with myself and Ghufran Shah. And inshallah, we'll be covering more of your questions and answering them off. Obviously, you'll have to get your questions in before Sunday, if you can. And then we'll have a list of them to go through. So we can't take them on the day. It's a case of getting them to us before Sunday. And then we can answer all your questions during the program, inshallah. So how do they get in touch with us, Ghufran Shah?
They can go onto the Facebook group, do a search for Radio Dawn.
Right.
They can call in the studio, and the number is... it's behind me somewhere.
It's behind you somewhere.
8411 8411 900.
And the email address?
The email is tech@radiodawn.com. In fact, you can choose any word you like at radiodawn.com.
Any word you
Yeah,
like?
it could be I love Yasar at radiodawn.com.
Are you sure about
Yes,
that?
any word you like.
Okay.
And in fact, we're just saying we do have a few minutes for callers. Any? Are we going to have a first call today?
I
Are we going to open the floor?
now.
We're doing overtime now, aren't we? So it's 21:02 now.
Wow,
Yeah.
you declared overtime.
Yeah, I'm declaring overtime. So I'm going to stay here until somebody calls,
Oh, that's going to be tricky.
which means you've got to stay here as well.
Oh, that's going to be tricky then, isn't it?
So we've also got a Twitter account. Have you got a Twitter account?
We will have one soon.
Oh, and the hashtag will be released
Inshallah.
on Facebook. And in fact, if you want to have a particular hashtag for Twitter, then just send a message on Facebook.
So what would you call yourself, a tweeter?
Twitter.
So I don't use
I-
it much.
It depends. I go through phases where I'm a tweetaholic sometimes. It depends on my workload, but I go through phases where you just start tweeting nonsense. So you can just
Okay. I'm really going off on one now.
that's what Twitter, and I think there's a lot of social networking out there, and like you can do it for good, and you can just do it for nonsense as well.
I'm sure the listeners can tell we really are doing overtime now.
I've got a habit of just sending people my location. And I think why?
But you do it though?
Yeah,
Well, you travel around the world, don't you? So
I think that's So I
you're kind of rubbing it in and saying, look where I am.
well, no,
look at you.
that wasn't the intention. So I really kind of made me think about why I'm doing that. It's really so my family knows where I am, family and friends.
Yeah,
and then
it's
I got a
quite
message on Facebook. Someone, I don't know why I added them and who they were. They sent me a snotty email saying you're just showing off. So I kind of stopped doing that now.
Oh, okay.
Because it was giving people the wrong impression.
It's really down to intentions, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's really down to intentions. I mean, it's what people take of you can be from anything, to be fair. They can take something, make it really bad, make it look really bad at the end of the day, even if you are just, doing it for the right reasons. Even like
Sure.
what we're doing right now.
Yeah, sure. So I suppose it kind of like it's fantastic idea you brought to the table. One from Allah bless you for that. And
Jazakallah khair.
I think we talk about computers and things are just changing daily. I mean, there's so much technology out there, but let's not forget at the end of the day who made the most. What's the perfect computer? And who made the most perfect computer? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's
Okay,
right.
so the Ashraful Makhluqat, mankind, is a perfect creation, and we've got the best of creations, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So at the end of the day, we can we rely a lot on technology and all this sort of stuff, but sometimes it's good to just pick up the phone or to go and knock on somebody's door and just talk instead of sending an email all the time. Just talk, have a cup of tea, and just talk.
Exactly. I was actually doing a technology-based, well, not a seminar, I would say, but a little talk to young people in the youth club here at Bob's Mill Community Centre. I said to a lot of them, obviously I'm going through all these different sorts of technologies, future tech that's coming, technology, the advantages, disadvantages, and one thing I told them as the last point really was that don't always sit in front of the computer, don't always use your dad's mobile phone to play games, do something else, go outside, play, just meet up with friends. You're young still, don't get yourself locked into these devices at such a young age. Obviously, as we get older, we do it more and more. But even at a young age, young people are starting to get, by a younger age, they're starting to get so involved that that's what they see as their future and nothing else, unfortunately. And breaking away from the norms of society as it would be. So let's say, I mean, when I was young, I can say this. I'll say when I was young. You're going to say when you were young. No, I'll say when I was young, I had my first phone, which was pretty much a 702, and you're going to say you never had a phone. So, or you could say you had a phone at that age. Well, I'm looking at 14, 15, but your experience would be totally different than mine. In comparison to young people now, basically I had 7-year-olds in that youth club session that basically I was going through technology, and they knew what a tablet was, and some of them actually had mobile phones and had tablets in their households, and it was quite surprising, to be fair, to me, because I get people all the time, obviously, in the field that I work in, and I get mainly elders who be asking us about questions about how to use the device, and young people at the age of 7 know.
Sure, and it's
so
like
much.
Things are so easy now with all these gadgets and tablets and everything. And when I my very first computer was a BBC Micro, and we had a 5.25-inch floppy disk. But before that we had
floppy disk.
Before that, because it was actually floppy.
Yeah.
Before that we had tapes, an audio tape. So I remember going to the shop and buying a game, and to actually load a game, you had to put the tape in the cassette player. It was a cassette player. You'd press play, and you'd wait about 30 minutes for the game to load.
Spectrum.
It was a Spectrum and Electron, and then my very first phone, color phone, it's the orange smartphone. First phone with a color screen.
Orange smartphone.
Yeah, you can't remember that. I've still got it, and that was a color screen. But nowadays, things are taken for granted so much. It's crazy.
They clearly are.
And in fact, now you can say how old I am. At university, there was no browser. Netscape was just being launched in my third year at uni. In the first year, we were using the command line to download content, to see the news or whatever, download pictures or whatever. It was like using HTTP gets and posts. So yeah, this show, as I said, just to recap, we've got some nice questions there. Some scientific ones, some consumer ones. I'd like to get some professional questions as well. I mean, if people are working in networking, they're working in the IT careers, they're doing programming, if you want to get into hardcore programming, Java, C++. I really am a geek guy, so this is another side of me you haven't seen. So that passion for technology, it turns me on, excites me. So if I get a call now from a C developer, I could be talking all night. Okay, so this is really for the community, as I say. So let's try and get some interaction here.
C++ don't ring in. I want to go home. that's yeah, good points. We have gone over, so
8 minutes over. Okay, well, jazakallah everybody. Thanks for listening, and thanks once again, Yasar. And are we back again next week, or
inshallah
next week? Yeah.
Well, next week, yeah. Jazakallah khair for coming in on my invitation. If you're not here in the studio, inshallah we'll have you on the telephone.
Sure.
So wherever you are, we'll hopefully have you on the telephone.
Sure. And I suppose Facebook is nice, email's nice, but we also, I mean, if need be, we can be contactable via WhatsApp, instant messenger. We can be contacted via SMS, text. We're really here. We want to serve you. That's the thing. Yeah. I think we have a call. All getting excited, jumping up and down. Well, hey, we have a call.
Well, let's hope.
Nara takbir.
Allah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Salam. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir, we
loud
can
and
hear
clear.
Yes. Look, I know you're looking for a C plus, but I can't give you a C plus, but I can only give you an A plus.
Oh, subhanallah.
For both of you, honestly, especially Sajid's brother, but yourself as well. I think you've got a splendid show on. Very informative. Your knowledge base is absolutely amazing. It's exactly what the Muslim community needs, and I'd just like to congratulate you on your knowledge base, really.
Jazakallah for the call, brother, and just keep calling in. I mean, for especially the children out there, they want to do computer studies in school. They want to make a career for themselves. Get them involved. Get them to call in. I'll even help people with homework. I mean, that's the thing. That's how we really want to help. So thanks for your support and encouragement.
No problem at all. I was going to actually say that if you're looking for a job, but I think you just mentioned that you're quite busy already, so no problem. Okay, well done.
Okay,
Nice.
so
Thank you very much.
okay, Assalamu
Jazakallah,
alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Oh,
That was nice and encouraging, mashallah.
That's very
Beautiful,
nice.
beautiful.
that's nice to have right at the
It
end.
makes all this worthwhile. If one person can benefit from these words that we're saying, and these all these good words are from Allah, all the mistakes are our own inadequacies. But
Indeed, indeed.
and we don't own knowledge; it's not ours. It's a
No.
trust from Allah. It's our duty to pass it on. And as it happens, this is knowledge which is not directly deen related, but you'll find a lot of what we use today does have some kind of Islamic input. I mean, if you look at mathematical history, a lot of that algebra is all based on our Islamic scholars. But that's another show, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. We don't want to go into too much detail on that today.
Sure.
Definitely not until or we could be here till 10 o'clock. So
Okay.
no. But yeah, it's been excellent.
Thank you. Jazakallah.
So inshallah next week.
Till the next time. Assalamu alaikum.
It's like.
You are listening to Dawn FM.